Hey folks, RJ Standard here. I'm going to do a second demo of this user story. Data collector has found a non-required form has become required. Requested by Latchco to give him an example how to obtain an event form ID of an event form that is not the same one as the current one. So for this demo, I set up a new event inside of the case module content set. And I'll open this up in VS Code. And open a Chrome window. And let's go through a registration. And here is our new event definition. Mark a form as required example. Let's go ahead and create it. And so right off the bat, you'll see there's form 1, and there is also a form 2, but it's not added. It's not. We don't have auto-populate true on that, so it doesn't show up automatically. It's also not a required form. So just for example, I'm going to do something where it doesn't set it as required. I'm just going to say, no, I don't like fruit. And I go back and look at the event, and it's marked as complete. However, if I say, I do like fruit, form 2 was added, and it was marked as required. So this event is now marked as incomplete. So the first time I ran through it, I said no to that question. And so the second form wasn't created, and it also didn't become required. However, when I said yes, it did get created, and it was marked as required. Let's look at the case definition. So here's that new event definition. Notice how form 2 is required false. Again, this is key. That means that this will stay optional, this form, until we use the mark required API to mark an instance of this event form definition as required. And when something is marked as required, the event will not complete until all required things are complete. So, as was the case with this, because form 2 never got added and was never marked as required, this event was able to reach the complete status. Whereas the second one, because it had, while this required form was complete, another required form was added, or another form was created, and it was made required. Thus, this event actually is not complete yet. If I click on this, I can give my answer, and we back out, and we now see that instance of the event is marked as complete. Let's check out the content that I used for that. So we're using this mark form as required example form 1 and form 2. It's this one and this one. The first form is where we have the magic. So we have that question of likes fruit. Do you like fruit? And if you answer yes, then we create an event form of the second type. That in that case definition, this one, this ID, it's not marked as required. And so if we just created this form, and we didn't mark it as required, actually the event would become done because all required things would have been complete. And so we take it a step further because they like fruit and we want to ask them about what else, like what are your favorite fruits. We create the event form instance and we mark that particular form instance as required. So again, running through the example, fill out the first one, say yes. The second form is created and marked as required. Again, if this line of code wasn't here, this would not have a little red indicator that it's required, and we would see that this event was now complete, but because it's been marked as required, we have to fill this out, and we do so, and now the event is marked as complete. Another scenario that might arise is let's say we'll do a little live coding here. Let's say we turned on auto-populate to true. So when the event's created now, this form instance is going to be there already, but optional. And when we submit the first form, we don't need to create it anymore ourselves. We just need to find it and mark it as required. Well, so let's take a step back. I've now marked this event for the second form as auto-populate true. So let's reload, open this up, create a new instance of this, and we'll see both forms have been added, form 1 and form 2. Form 2 is not required yet. So what I'm going to do is let's use the debugger to look up that second form instance and clear this console here. And so like on this line here, if we say yes, we don't want to create it. We want to look it up. And so I'm going to say case service, look in the case. We want to look up in the event. So we want to find the event that we're on. So I'll say find an event where the event ID equals the current event, current case event ID. So that's the start of it. So we're in the, we found the event, and now events have event forms, so we can chain on here. Say, look in the event forms. We're going to look for an event form whose, if we open this up and see, one of these is that form 2. And we're not going to know the ID, like these IDs of these things are generated randomly, but we know it's going to be of a specific form definition ID. And so we're going to look for an event form with an event form definition ID of this thing. I'm just going to copy this and say where the event form ID equals that. Not the event form ID, the event form's event form definition ID. Oh, missing the find here. There we go. And now we have found that event form instance that we can mark as required. There's the ID that we're going to get. I'm going to copy this and we'll run through that code one more time here. So form 2, we're not creating it. We are going to find it. And I'm going to format this in a way, add some indentation, some white space, in order to make this easier to read. And we can't use double quotes. Change these to single. Cool. All right. So walking through this, let's add a debugger statement and reload. Cool. Again, walking through this line by line. So if I take this, copy this, we know that caseService.case is the full case. Cool. And we want to get inside of events and find the event. So copy this. Gets us a list of events. And then we want to find according to the current case event ID. And remember, case event is the current case event that we're in. There it is. You can see it. It's our mark a form as required example event. All right, so we've gotten that far. And then when as soon as we get that event, we have this event forms property, and we want to find something in that event forms array. Event forms gets us an array, and we look in there, and we like, no, this is how I'm going to find it, is by the event form definition ID. Okay, and the last line. I found that event form instance, which note, required is false currently. But we're about to pass it. So what we just evaluated here, this whole thing, set a debugger statement here, hit play, and form2, this form2 object is now the thing that is required false, but it's about to get marked as required by passing in the current case events ID and passing in that form that we looked up, the event form we looked up, and passing in the ID of that. Hit play, and there we are. You can see that this is now required. If we run that same piece of code, I'm gonna press up, there we go. So looking in the case, looking in the events, finding the right event, looking in the event forms, finding it by the event form definition ID. There it is as the data form, and required is now true. So looking out, we can see that this event form is this event is now has a status of incomplete because we created something that was if we had not marked this as required, this event would now be complete. But because it was marked as required, there's something that still needs to be done, so it is incomplete. I hope that was clear for everybody. Thanks for watching.